Hi, this is George Alger. Welcome to today's segment of OurVentura TV. Today we're going to be talking about hemp and autism. And our guest experts are Justin and Mollie Benton, who are the founders of 101 Hemp, located here in Ventura. Welcome, Justin and Mollie, and let's just jump right into it. For our viewers who don't know, what is hemp?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Hemp is a plant that it grows. It's been a big part of our country for hundreds of years. We have some hemp farms out here in Ventura County. There's about 43 of us farmers out here. A lot of people think of hemp. They think of it as, its industrial uses for rope, for paper, for clothing. And even the original Declaration of Independence the first draft was written on hemp, and the Santa Maria who came over, the flags and the sails were made out of hemp. So it's a really practical plant. Some people call it the green buffalo because it has so many uses. But these days, hemp gets a lot of attention because of the extracts or the cannabinoid called CBD or cannabidiol. It's a tongue twister that a lot of people are using for various health ailments like pain, anxiety, and sleep. And that's where CBD comes from, that hemp plant.
Okay, great. Now let's also just touch on the association that hemp has with marijuana. Could you explain that?
Yeah, exactly. So cannabis is the type of plant, and depending upon the genetics of the cannabis plant, some will veer to the left, and that would be a CBD, high CBD plant or hemp. And sometimes the genetics will veer to the right, and it'll be a THC plant, high THC, and that is what's called a marijuana plant in our government. And very similar looking, but it's just like there's dogs, and there's different types of dogs. There's a German Shepherd, and then there's a Labrador. So they're all dogs, but because the hemp plant has CBD and industrial uses like rope, and then there's the cannabis plant or the marijuana plant that has THC, which has those recreational psychoactive effects that people sometimes go for.
Very good. And before we jump into the association of hemp and autism, let's first define what is autism for those who may not know.
Yeah, so basically, autism is a neurological disorder. There's a wide range of symptoms and a very wide range of severities. So, some kids are more like social kind of disorders, lack of communication, those types of things. And some get to more extremes, whereas like there's a lot of like hitting or, anger issues. And it just really depends on the child and what the injury was. So that's kind of the sum.
Very good. So now, what is this association then that we're addressing here in terms of hemp and autism?
Yeah, so our story is that our son was diagnosed at age about 2.5 with autism, and we're looking for more of a natural approach to try and figure out how to, cure him, get him better. So we were looking into all sorts of different, therapies and, treatments of sorts. And we stumbled upon CBD, and it completely, we went down this crazy roller coaster with it, trying to figure out, we knew it would help. We heard that it would help, but we didn't know what would actually, what was going to be the end result. But we started going through different types of CBD. There's different, isolates, and then there's, whole plant extract is what we came upon. And the whole plant, the actual raw, essential extract from the hemp plant was what ended up helping our son. And it was a completely different reaction when we were using isolates versus the raw version. So it helped with him, speaking more, coming out of his shell, being able to concentrate, focus, being able to go to school. He was with therapists for a long time, and now we actually don't even use ABA therapy anymore. we attribute much of this to the CBD, the hemp.
Very good. And could you speak to how it's ingested?
Yeah, so there are different ways, but we found that the most effective way is under the tongue. When there's children involved, that's very not something that's easy to do. But usually a sublingual, you squirt oil under your tongue and you leave it there for about 5 to 7 minutes. We call it a long-term sublingual, and it gets into your system with a pretty high absorption rate that way. And then you swallow the oil. But there's topical treatments also. In order for it to actually get into the system to really help with the symptoms of autism, we suggest doing under the tongue or even just swallowing it. And we actually add ours to juice for our son, and it helps immensely. We just have to put a lot more in because going through the digestive system, you don't get as much absorption rates.
Okay. And is this something that you would do every day or a couple times a week or multiple times a day?
Good question. We end up doing it 2 times a day. We have a morning juice and an afternoon juice. He actually has an aversion to eating fruits and vegetables. So we juice every single morning, and we make his organic fruits and vegetables juices, and we put all sorts of different supplements and such in there, including a pretty high amount of CBD.
Very good. And about how long did it take before you saw some favorable change?
We definitely saw change immediately.
Wow.
We were out on a family outing, and we remember very clearly we were at the Underwoods Family Farms, and he was having an episode, which means that he was basically under this bench that we were all sitting on and holding his ears and having, can't handle life kind of a situation. We had a lot of those. And we were just kind of testing out some of our own CBD, and we squirted a little in his mouth, and literally within the next minute, he was out walking around with his sister, picking fruits again, and it was like totally shocking. So, it can happen that quickly. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, especially finding out dosage and stuff for your own in particular child. It's very different from one person to the next, how much you'll need and how well it's absorbed in the body. So sometimes that takes a little bit of time, but for the most part, it can be immediate.
Okay. And so this sounds like it's a wonderful thing in your family. Do you happen to have any statistics that might shed light on how effective it is on autism on a broader scale?
So when we got started, this was about 5 or 6 years ago that we started, going down this rabbit hole. We were looking for any kind of solution, working with doctors and researchers all over the world. And there wasn't anything that I could find that linked CBD to autism and help. But because I found research that showed CBD helping with epileptic children and it's neurological, it only made sense to me. And that's what led us to, continue to work, discover. And I would try everything first. And then you heard how we started introducing it to our son. We work with organizations and other nonprofits that the statistics have gone from, like in the 70s, 1 in 10,000 children have been diagnosed, to here in Ventura County, it's around 1 in 40. And
wow.
It is very, alarming. And I think almost everybody now knows somebody who has a family that's affected by autism. And we work with a lot of families around the world, sharing our story and offering advice and our experience and giving them access to the same things that we tried. And we hear incredible, very, very similar results. We hear children that didn't speak now speak. We hear a more emotional, more happy, more hugging and all those types of things. So the success rate that we've seen in our family and other families is 100%. And there are no silver bullets. There's other things like behavior therapy and diet and nutrition are very important. But it's been an overall success story for us and families all over the world.
Wow. Now, would you also characterize yourself then as pioneers in this area then?
Absolutely. But we're standing on the shoulders of giants who've been advocating for this hemp plant for decades, dating back to 1937 when the marijuana tax bill was passed. And they basically outlawed the growing of hemp, except for a few years in World War II where they actually encouraged farmers to grow it so they could get more rope and sails for the soldiers. So yes, and we're really, the biggest thing about us is how we're a pioneer is that we really believe in using the whole plant and not processing the plant. So you can make rope out of it, you can make plastic out of it, and you can make medicine, you can even make cars out of it. It's an amazing plant, and we just leave it alone. That's our biggest thing as far as being pioneers are. And, we're here to pay it forward. And that's why we're on this, with you. And thank you for having us is an opportunity to share our story and let others look at this plant that's kind of been stigmatized and give it a second, thought. And feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to answer any questions.
Very good. And for folks who are looking at this as a potential solution for an autism impacted person that they know, would you suggest that they search online for hemp in autism or CBD in autism or both, or it doesn't matter?
So the best place you can go, there's two places. Number one is called pubmed.gov, which is where all research has to be published before it can, be in a journal. And you can type in a search box, CBD space autism or CBDA space autism. CBDA is just the raw version of CBD. The other place that we really like and would recommend to learn a lot more about education and nutrition and supplements is autismhopealliance.org. They're an organization that has tons of videos with doctors and researchers, and they can answer all kinds of questions, and they even give products away for free for families who can't afford it. So those would be the two resources I would check. And obviously there's Dr. Google. Just type in CBD and autism and you'll find a lot of really good information out there. But those pubmed.gov and autismhopealliance.org are the two that I would recommend.
Very good. So we're just about out of time here. I wonder if you could provide a summating message for the viewers, and also if you have your own website that people could go to for more information.
Sure. Well, again, we're starting to learn more and more research about this plant. There's a lot of anecdotal stories. I'm sure, you have probably heard of CBD and probably heard some good things and maybe some confusing things. My suggestion would be to ask friends and kind of see what their stories or what their examples have been. Look at online reviews and just kind of, give it another shot. It would be my opinion. And if there's any kind of questions or anything people have, our website, if you want to reach out, is 101 Hemp. So it's like 101, like the highway, 101hemp.org. And reach out to us. We'd love to help point you in any directions, whether it's farming, questions about autism, questions about CBD, anything we can do to help. This whole organization was set up because it solved a problem for our family, and we're just here to pay it forward, and maybe it can help your family.
All right. Thank you very much, Justin and Molly.
Thanks for having us.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.